On Monday, the Tampa Bay Rays announced that Longoria will sign a ceremonial one-day contract prior to their June 7th game to officially retire.
So Locked On Rays will be present to say goodbye to the best ever Rays player. So
you are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
We're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 7th season covering the Rays daily.
So grab your favorite Rays gear and settle in as we discuss a bunch of different items on today's episode, namely news in the announcement that Evan Longoria will officially retire as a Ray, and there will be a ceremony on Saturday, June 7th. So we have a lot to discuss about Longo and beyond.
But before we get to all of that, we got to tell you that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And every time you went to the Trop between 2008 and 2017, it felt like you got $200 in your pocket when that man wearing number 3 and the would come up to bat. Yeah. My God. Even that just gave me a little bit of chills. Not going to lie. That tantric song will forever be ingrained into all of our communal Rays Nation wavelength. Forever. If you were there to witness it, man, where do we start with Evan Longoria? Evan Michael Longoria. Where do we start with him, Kevin?
Well, let's start with the fact that on Monday, the Tampa Bay Rays announced that Longoria will sign a ceremonial one-day contract prior to their June 7th game to officially retire as a Ray. Longoria, who is now 39 years old. Man, time flies. I remember when he was 22, 23 years old back in 2007, 2008, and he got that call up, and the rest is literally history. And to that, Longo said, I want to come back home. Essentially, I just always kind of felt like I owed it to the Rays fans who supported me all those years to come back and do some sort of announcement with the Rays. So I imagine that will be a hot ticket in a couple of weeks. I imagine that I will not be going to that game. I am not Mr. Monopoly over here, so I will be watching on the boob tube or listening on radio, and hopefully we get a nice interview or two from Evan Longoria. But now that his major league career is officially over, it's time. It had to be done. It's appropriate. There's no way he's doing this in a Diamondbacks uniform or a Giants uniform. So this is just awesome. It's a great send-off for Longoria. And if I had to guess, I don't think his time with the Rays will be done, and the ceremonies won't be done with Evan Longoria. We still, I imagine, maybe not this year, but next year when the Rays are back in the Trop, there will be a Rays Hall of Fame situation. There will be a jersey retirement situation, and there will probably be something worked out between the organization and him to come back as a coach of some sort, or a front office type of some sort, or a team ambassador of some sort. I could only imagine and believe that he needs and should have some involvement with the organization if that's what he wants to do. Longo, to me, doesn't seem like a guy that, look, he's got millions upon millions of dollars. I think we can look at his baseball reference page and look at his contracts and see how much money he's made over the years. But he seems like he still wants to have his hands into something, and what better than the Rays and baseball?
A lot to chew on what you've said, Evan, Kevin. Yeah. So First, I will say, kind of a flex, but it wasn't my doing. A belated birthday present from my beloved sister was to buy tickets today to that
Wow.
game. So my birthday present, she's taking me to that game. So Locked On Rays will be present to say goodbye to the best ever Rays player. So Locked On Rays fans, you are all going to be represented. I will be there. That's number one. Number two, I think it's we should stop the question of will his number be retired, because frankly I was thinking about it today. I think by asking the question should his number be retired is actually an affront to what he did. It's actually offensive to us Rays fans just to think should it be retired. No bleeping duh.
It has to be retired. Maybe if he played for the Yankees or something like that, if he had the career that he had in a Rays uniform, in a Yankees uniform, maybe his jersey doesn't get retired. But with what he did with the Rays and changing the trajectory of that franchise, literally, and I don't want to say single-handedly, but he was a big key part of doing that, of taking the team from worst to first and being the franchise player at such a young age and getting as much recognition as he did. I mean, the team was thrown on his back in a way. It's a no doubter that number 3 has to go up in the rafters in perpetuity.
And and you're not only talking, you're talking multiple statues. I know 162 outside the Trop, that was a great start, but I need to see another Longo stat. I mean, this guy, what he did to elevate who the Rays were across Major League Baseball cannot go unnoticed. And so first, yes, his number obviously should be retired. It is going to be retired. He is the best player in franchise history. He will be the best Hall of Fame inductee in that Rays Hall of Fame when it's done.
Unfortunately, he will not make it into the BBWAA Hall of Fame, but not for lack of trying. I think he's just a couple notches short. If he was a little bit healthier, if he stayed in a Rays uniform for longer, then maybe. But I'm hoping that he gets a couple votes thrown his way, one way or the other. But the fact that you have guys like Kenny Lofton who don't make it into the Hall of Fame, or
Andrew Jones
who doesn't, or Kurt Schilling. I mean, it's a tough gig, but we can still claim him in the Rays Hall of Fame and the Hall of Very Good. And I'm sure there's got to be a piece of Longo memorabilia sitting in Cooperstown for what he did.
162 or the 08 or 2013, like 1,000%. And we're going to get into all of that, Kevin. But I think first we need to tell folks something very important.
Yes, we do. That is something very important that we'll tell you right now. Well, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Are you new to FanDuel? Well, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
You mentioned something that I think cannot go unnoticed. And I know sample size is a thing. Of course it is. Obviously it is. We should know this. But there's something about the bright lights hitting some dudes, and some dudes don't. Some dudes can be called Aaron Judge, and they might not be performing as they should. Or they can be known as Brett Phillips, and they shine. or Randy Arozarena, and they shine. Or they may
or
not
Alex
shine.
Rodriguez, and they don't shine in the postseason or when it matters most.
It can happen to Hall of Famers, to, oh yeah, that guy had a cup of coffee for 20 games, but he was a hero in that World Series. Like it's a luck of the draw, but it happens. And guess what? When you're talking about Evan Longoria, the moment was never a thing for this guy. This guy had frozen, cold-blooded running through his veins. I mean, it was such a, and you never doubted that he would come through. And it's such a crazy thing because in baseball, hey, they're going to fail 70% of the time, and that would make him a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to see them fail a lot. And even then, every time that you felt this could be it. We have a shot. This is our guy. And in the big moments in the playoffs, he never shied away. In the big moments in the regular season, he never shied away. I want to build him up and not build others down.
Right.
So I'm not going to say, oh, this guy doesn't do it in the playoffs, but Longo did. You guys know who I'm talking about. But that's why Longo is such a mystical figure for Rays Nation. And to be quite frank, no one has come close to what Evan Longoria did in a Rays uniform ever.
He's still the franchise leader in various categories like games played, home runs, RBI, runs, doubles, and WAR rating. And I would imagine many, if not all those numbers will stand the test of time. We'll have to see what Junior Caminero does. We thought that a guy by the name of Val, who shall not be named, might have had a shot at a couple of those metrics, but alas, that is highly unlikely to happen. And that's something we can appreciate about Longo is being the face of the franchise, being, I think, mature beyond his years, putting the team on his back from his April 2008 big league debut and onward until he was traded to San Francisco after 2017. We didn't have a lot of controversies, if any controversies, with Evan Longoria. I mean, I think the only thing was like his spring training rental home was robbed. The one he was staying in with
Brainiac,
Weiss and Brainiac and maybe someone else. And, you know, a couple guns were taken from the premises or whatnot, but that wasn't really anything there. But beyond that, Evan Longoria was pretty much picture perfect and the all-American guy that you would want to represent your organization and to represent the league, frankly. I mean, he was in Gillette commercials. He was on the cover of a video game. How often is a Rays player getting that type of pub?
MLB 2K10. That's the one I bought because it was Longo on the cover.
Yes.
You know, he was on the new Era cap, which was a fantastic advertisement. I think we lived in a very special time where we saw that evolution from Devil Rays to Rays, and he was just a perfect guy because you couldn't really say anything bad about him. If you were another fan base, you couldn't say, oh, well, he doesn't have any defense. Check the defense. Yeah, he's an amazing glove. Yeah. Great arm. Not too shabby on the base paths when he was young. You know, the years catches up to everybody, so that's nothing to be like, ooh. But in the beginning, he could steal a bagger like you know, a normal young spry guy could.
Right.
And the homers were there. The big moment, like we said, I mean, that 162 game is obviously going to get a lot of spotlight and focus on, but it's not the go-ahead home run that I mean, obviously it should get a lot of publicity. Right. But I think the 3-homer game, the 3-run homer in that same game, goes so underrated. Like you were down 7 runs. You need a 3-run punch in the face against the Yankees. And he was able to do that. And again, the whole team rallied, and it was a great team win. But you have to have a Longo.
Yes.
And again, don't want to put Longo up, but putting others down. But I don't have the confidence in any of the players like I ever did with Longo. And put me down in the comments as like, hey, you're wrong. X player, I have as much confidence as Longo as on this guy as I did with Longo. Okay, cool. Put it down in the comments and we can talk about it. But really, I do think what Longo did at the time, currently, there hasn't been another player that gives you that emotion, gives you that confidence when they're standing at the plate.
I think, and I know the average might not be so great in the postseason, but I think he had 10 postseason home runs, which not too shabby when you consider the grand scheme of it and how many guys struggle when the bright lights and the big moments in October baseball comes around. So that's something to be appreciated. But I think, even beyond
being so young too. I mean, him and BJ just was home runs every game, basically.
And even something like, I mean, I know it wasn't necessarily a great moment, but the fact that he would be willing to put a player like BJ Upton in his place for not hustling, like that was the sign of leadership and having the team control. And he didn't do it, I think, in a loud, boisterous way. He was just, hey, when something had to be said or something had to be done, he would take control of that situation, which I think is what's needed on every team, especially if you're a team that's trying to win and trying to get somewhere and trying to do something in the postseason. But the fact that you come to an organization that had been a laughingstock for the previous decade since its entirety, and then, within the first year of your rookie or in your rookie season, since your debut, you brought success and meaning and credibility to the franchise. Like that can't be replicated. And I know there were, many other individuals involved with that, i.e. Joe Madden and the rest of the roster, but he was the figurehead, the centerpiece of all that coming together. And it's why the Rays were good for such a long time after that. So, and that's why I think that he needs to have, if he wants, he should have some role with the team going forward. And I think he would do a great job of that. But, I think beyond all the accolades of Gold Gloves and Rookie of the Year and Silver Slugger and All-Star appearances and millions of dollars and top 20 MVP votings, it's the fact that he brought the franchise out of obscurity, and you had a reason to root for this team, and people would, be happy and relish in sporting Evan Longoria jerseys or jerseys, and you still see him around the ballpark.
Honestly, it would be a great study for the 10,046 people that show up nightly at Steinbrenner Field, to just take out of 10,046 people, let's say 7,000 today were wearing some sort of race paraphernalia. Okay, out of those 7,000, 2,000 were wearing X player, 3,000 were. I would love to see the ranking. And bro, I'm not kidding. I think Longoria is still making that top 5 of jerseys that are there, and that's such a great statement. And it also means, unfortunately, that not a lot of guys have reached that level of a fan favorite.
Right.
I think Arozarena, when he was traded, we talked about that endlessly, that he was the one that had come closest to being a fan favorite while also producing on the field.
Correct.
But no, what he did, it hasn't been seen before. And I would like to have, maybe not put you on the spot in a bad way, but maybe put you on a spot in a good way. If you had one question to ask Evan Michael Longoria, what would it be?
Oh, well, my question would be so off the wall, and it wouldn't be the question I think that most people would ask him, but it would be something obscure in the sense of like, who was the most disliked teammate that you played with during your years with Tampa Bay? Something to that effect. Like, who was the guy that everybody else hated? It's some of that drama and cattiness that I would like to get to the bottom of.
I like that. I like
that would
that.
be my question. It wouldn't be like, what went through your head during game 162. No, it would be like, give me the tea. I want some of the tea on those Rays years.
Yeah, I agree. What about if we would love to ask that like off the mic.
Yeah.
On the mic that he would be comfortable enough to answer, because I think that he might be like, hey, I'm not going to answer that. But if on the mic, what would be that question that you're like, okay, I really want to know this, and he would be open to answer me candidly?
Okay. I guess, and I'd probably know the answer to this, but I would ask, do you believe that you should be in the BBWAA Hall of Fame, or did you have the talent to be in the Hall of Fame?
I think we are thinking along the same lines. I would ask him if he hadn't gotten hurt in 2012, which broke that streak of basically a perennial 30 home run seasons for him as a Rays player. He only got 19 that season, and he actually got 3 in the last game against the Orioles to get to 19. He was hurt for half the season. If you guys remember, that's the Will Rhymes season where he said,
legendary.
I'm Batman, when he got hit by the pitch because he was so, tiny that he kind of lost it a little bit there. I would ask him something like, if you had been healthy that season, and that may be a 2-pronged question, so I'm kind of cheating. Number one, if you had been healthy that season, do you believe that the Rays could have been a playoff team? Because you had won 90 teams and you had the best starting rotation we have ever seen in franchise history in 2012. And 2, if you're not hurt and you actually give us 160 games like he could back then, does that amplify your Hall of Fame resume to the point where it's not even like he's all Hall of very good, but hey, this guy is actually a fringe to a possible candidate for the Hall of Fame?
No, that's good. Before we close out here, we won't really get into a preview of the Toronto series. I'll just say this: the Rays can't use the outdoor conditions of rain, wind, and heat. They will be playing in a dome, so take that for what you will. Better see some more homers than previously, and better see something from Danny Jansen getting back at his old team. But
question: do you think Danny Jansen is going to get a tribute video?
No. I mean, does he deserve one?
I think he's going to.
Okay. Well, I'll just say this. I think the Blue Jays made the right choice in keeping Kirk over Jansen, because I am envious of the Kirk offensive thing that's going on right now. But I want to note some quotes from former players and coaches and front office folks on Longo, and then we have some listener comments as well. David Price says, he was our Derek Jeter. When Longo spoke, we listened. He wasn't loud. He just always led by example. Joe Madden, he was mature beyond his years from day one. He made the clubhouse better, the dugout better, and the organization better. Kevin Cash, even as a veteran, he stayed coachable. That's rare for a star. He cared more about the Rays winning than his own numbers. And James Shields, you knew if the game was on the line, you wanted Longo at the plate. He never backed down, just like what Ulises said previous in this episode. And then getting to some comments from the listeners out there. Alex says the obvious, we posed the question on the X machine, favorite Longo moments, and obviously game 162 is prominent in the comments here, but I just want to highlight a couple of them. Alex says the obvious ones are going to get some love here, but he hit a grand slam against the Red Sox on my 14th birthday in 2009. Core memory right there. Spiritual Fitness says all of them. He was my Chipper Jones. Longo played the game the right way and delivered in the clutch so often. MLB News 24/7, actually winning games and the division. Of course, we have a lot of game 162s. Turd Crapley says, my mom hitting him with his shopping cart at a Publix on 4th. Blamed him for it too. Man, that must have been she had. I don't even know what to say to that. That's interesting.
I would have loved to have been in that car ride back home.
I guess Longo did his own grocery shopping. How about that? He's caring for his 3 kids. Somebody's got to do the shopping. That might have predated the Shipped and Instacart and all those services. So who knows? But yeah, Longo, he's a legend, and it's crazy. Like before you know it, it's going to be 10 years since he was traded to the Giants, and 10 years is a long time, but it also doesn't seem like enough. Like I wish we could have eked out a couple of more Longo seasons and seen what had happened. And alas, that wasn't the case. So.
And I know people are going to say, well, we couldn't have gotten Yandy Diaz at third base or Joey Wendell, or we didn't have the money to keep Longo and Charlie Morton. Well, guess what? I don't give a bleep. I mean, sometimes you got to keep your guys. Like I say this all the time. I think if we ask every Cincinnati Reds fan, a big majority would not be like, I hated that we kept Joey Votto for 18 years. We should have kept him for 12. Nah, bro. It's an emotional thing. You grow an attachment to a person. You grow an attachment to their walk-up song.
Yes. Yeah. And the other shameful part of it too is the fact that like trading Longo, your return for him wasn't hot stuff. You got Matt Crooks, Steven Woods, Christian Arroyo, and Denard Span. So not necessarily, a who's who of superstars there. I know, Span's a solid player, but you would expect that you're trading Evan Longoria, that you're going to find a star 2 or 3 out of the mix, and that just wasn't the case. So.
And even Denard Span, even though he did well with the Rays, guess what? He was with the Rays for 2 months, and then he was shipped off to Seattle.
Yeah. So it's a shame from that point of view, but yeah, what might be nice is Topkin and Longo to get together. They write a book, a biography. And I would buy it. I'd read it. I'd like to hear some of the stories, the inner workings. Like that's the other thing too is, obviously the Rays drafted him 3rd overall because they were so bad and they got one of the top picks. But you look at the Rays hit rate with 1st-round draft picks, and it hasn't been all that great. But in that period of time, they were actually doing pretty solid with him, David Price, and others. So. That was another thing of, you had a really fun core that you could build around and thrive with. And on some of those teams that was the best time to be a Rays fan, between watching him and Crawford and Price and Upton and all these guys, just a host of talent and unique skill sets that made the Rays fun and watchable and national television coverage worthy. I mean, there were a lot of games on ESPN that profiled the Rays and the Red Sox and the Rays and the Yankees. And I think a lot of that was because of Evan Longoria. I mean, I was living in Indiana when I watched the game on ESPN. I believe it was ESPN. It had to be ESPN when Carl Crawford had that 6 stolen base game against the Red Sox. So he literally put the team on the map there. So good for him, and have fun on June 7th. I'm going to be a little bit jelly of you for having that opportunity.
There's always the Rays rush tickets, baby. So the standing room only. That might be a case of where your legs are going to be okay because it's for Evan Longoria.
I'm going to get one of those utility hydraulics that the linemen use and try to watch the game from up top. Maybe that'll work there. So.
There you go.
In the meantime, thank you for making Locked On Rays your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on the YouTubes or wherever you listen to podcasts.